Today I want us to settle the HAVAL JOLION fuel consumption debate, just like some of you guys are saying the Argentina World Cup win has settled the GOAT debate. I World Cup winner by winning Namon. But me I know my GOAT, and your GOAT is not my GOAT. My GOAT is Honorable Comrade Cristiano Ronaldo. But Vela Sikolapo, today we're addressing the issue of the fuel consumption of this car. Welcome to another video. So as you know, I lived with the HAVAL JOLION for about a month, and the first day I drove it, I averaged 13.3 liters per 100 kilometers, and I was like, what the F? The fuel consumption struggle is real, most. But then that consumption wasn't a HAVAL problem, it was a me problem. The thing with me is that I've been a polo driver since I started driving, so it's quite difficult for me to let go of my polo driver tendencies. That's why I tend to drive every car like a polo. I don't care whether it's a Picanto, Swift, I move everything. That's how I got the 13 liters per 100 kilometers, but then I realized that no man, normal people don't drive like that. So I decided to drive like a normal person in order to get a better indication of how well efficient the JOLION is. Okay, so the next day I drove to work with the HAVAL driving like a normal person, and I averaged 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers. My trip to work is 65 kilometers, mostly open road driving, and according to the car, my average speed was 69 kilometers per hour. But that doesn't mean I was just cruising at 69 kilometers per hour all the way, because some people don't know what average means, but that's Pumilap. I was kind of impressed with the consumption, so I tried to test what's the lowest figure I can get if I drive to work like an old lady, and I averaged an impressive 5.6 liters per 100 kilometers. You already know my trip to work is 65 kilometers, but this time my average speed was down to 60 kilometers per hour because I drove like an old lady just to see what's the lowest figure I can get. The claimed average fuel consumption of the HAVAL JOLION is 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers, by the way, and I don't think they're lying. Let me explain. So I had to drive from Nelspruit to Johannesburg with the JOLION. The car was almost empty, so I poured a full tank and reset my driving data. Everything went to zero, then vroom, I hit the road. I paid roughly 1,100 for a full tank. I almost forgot to mention that. For my trip from Nelspruit to Johannesburg, I averaged 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which is exactly the average consumption figure claimed by HAVAL. The trip was roughly 4 hours long, and for those who don't know, Johannesburg is approximately 350 kilometers away from Nelspruit. My average speed according to the car was 98 kilometers per hour. And I say according to the car because this thing is just an average, because I know I was flying. You can't just play on the N4, I was moving. Like moving. So in summary, I only used half a tank to drive to Johannesburg and used the remaining half to drive back home. I didn't make it to Nelspruit though. I had to refill in Middelburg because when I got to Middelburg, the remaining range was only 75 kilometers. And if I continued driving, I was gonna run out of fuel in the middle of nowhere, and that's dumb. HAVAL claims that you can drive up to 760 kilometers with one tank, and in my case I only drove 620 kilometers and refilled while I still had an estimated range of 75 kilometers remaining. If I kept going, I was gonna get plus minus 700 kilometers, which is not too far off from the range claimed by HAVAL. From my experience with this car, the JOLION tends to chow more fuel when you're driving around town. With town driving, I was averaging between 8.5 and 10 liters per 100 kilometers. But overall, based on my experience, the consumption of the JOLION is not that bad. And it's not bad at all. This is just a big SUV with a small engine. That's the problem. Look, the fact of the matter is this is an SUV. So if you buy it, you should know exactly what you're signing up for. You'll pay 1,100 for a full tank and finish it within a week. While those of us who are driving normal cars only pay 700 for a tank and drive for just over a week. I lived with the HAVAL for about 30 days and I spent a total of 4,574 rands on fuel. But you all don't drive like me, so this information is somewhat irrelevant to you. From what I've heard, HAVALs tend to chow too much fuel when they are still new and the consumption drops as they get older. The JOLION I'm driving already did more than 10,000 kilometers, so I guess that's why the consumption is no longer bad anymore, if you drive like a normal person. Like I said in my last video, this year I want us to explore the used car market. In my next video, we'll be laying a foundation. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more car content in the Mzansi context.